Well, welcome everyone to Attachment Parenting Canada's webinar on healthy family sleep tonight. We do these webinars once a month on different topics that are pertinent to families of young children. Can be eating, sleeping, toileting, discipline, and if you don't catch it tonight or your friends don't catch it tonight, don't worry, it's going to come again in a month. Well, maybe not the same topic, but we do rotate them so they will come. So just a reminder that you can join us on August 5th for our next webinar on positive discipline, and that is discipline that builds children's brains. So tonight is all about sleep, and as you're probably feeling and I feel, sleep is a fundamental need in life. And we are lucky to have Brandie Hadfield join us tonight and present this webinar with Attachment Parenting Canada. So Brandie, thank you for coming and welcome.
Thank you.
Okay.
Welcome everyone. So as Judy said, I am a wellness coach for parents, and I work with Attachment Parenting as a volunteer, as a leader, and I created a healthy family sleep program. And the approach that I take is really kind of training the parents, so training you to help make sure that you not only know how to set the stage for healthy sleep for your babies, children, and yourself, but also that you can optimize your own nutrition and stress management so that you can make it through this season and thrive as well as your child. And part of my certifications is with the Dr. Sears Wellness Institute. Prior to this, I worked in human resources for a fitness company, and I did health and wellness coaching with the leaders to help them get the most out of their fitness professionals. So then it kind of was a neat transition to help parents, because it's something that I felt so passionate about as a new mother myself. And there's me and my son, who's going to be 3 next month. That's him on his first birthday. So I'm just going to start with our guilt-free policy. And I love this quote: "Little babies love every inch of their bodies. They have no guilt, no shame, and no comparison. You are like that, and then somewhere along the line listen to others who told you that you are not good enough." And I love that because I think our babies are so perfect, and they say that teachers come in all forms, and I think that when we look at our babies, they can teach us so much about being present in the moment and about loving themselves, getting their needs met.
Yeah.
So hopefully, through this call, through this webinar, you come into it with an open mind, and you take what resonates with you, and you feel totally free to leave the rest, leave what doesn't resonate with you. I learned recently that regardless of what kind of parenting styles parents chose, that within the first 3 years of having a child, that 75% rated their marriage as extremely dissatisfying. And I thought that was really interesting because, again, it didn't take into consideration at all what parenting style, attachment parenting or not. It's just, regardless of how you slice it, it's tough in these young years of child rearing. But hoping to switch the feeling of that it has to be us versus them, it has to be their needs or our needs, that we can really strike a balance and have everyone's needs be met. And that's why one of the principles of attachment parenting is balance, striving for balance. And so that's why attachment parenting puts on these free webinars and free support groups and forums and meetings, is to help arm parents with the tools, like I said, to get through this period. So before we get into, we're going to be talking about common myths that are not true and some facts that you may or may not already know, and the reasons behind them, the science behind them, and then arm you with some tools to deal with the facts of infants and sleep and toddlers and sleep. But before we get into that, if you have a pen and paper, and if not, you can just think to yourself, I'd love you to jot down or think for a minute about whether or not you're coming into this call thinking that your baby or toddler has a sleep problem. So just yes or no. Do they have a problem? And if so, what is the issue with sleep? And have you considered any solutions? And have they worked? What have you tried? Has it worked? So you might say, you wake up a lot. And I tried some form of sleep training that hasn't really worked, just as an example. And then you want to resolve that issue so that what? And that's the big question. And we did get some questions sent to us via email prior to this call that I'm going to answer them throughout when it kind of fits a piece that I'm speaking to. And then at the end at 10 Eastern, which is 8 Mountain Time, we'll then open it up to questions, and Judy and I can answer those. But one of them was, one of the questions that we received in advance was, how do I stop nursing my baby at night? And so I fit that in here because I wouldn't answer that question without understanding the so that piece. So that what? So that you can have more balance, so that your baby sleeps as they should. What is that piece? Because that's what I would want to understand before giving any recommendation. Because if it has to do with balance, we may solve that. You may not have to worry about cutting out feedings. So think about that for a moment and think about if that can be resolved by the end of this call. So for the myths, the 5 infant sleep myths that I see time and time and time again, and I'm sure all of you have heard at one point or another.
Oh yeah, definitely seen those.
Have you had success, Judy, with putting your babies down drowsy but awake?
No. No, I've had really bad sleepers in my family. I think only one of them slept really well, and he was an easygoing child, and when he went away to college, his roommates poured cornflakes on his bed, and he went to sleep on that.
Oh my goodness.
The other 4 were really bad sleepers.
My son, like I said, we teach what we most need to learn, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And my son definitely was not one that could be put down drowsy but awake. He would get very agitated very quickly. It would escalate.
Yeah.
So it just didn't work despite the literature. And I think the longer that I've been a mom and doing this work, the more I see that most don't have success putting their baby drowsy but awake. Sounds good on paper, but realistically, babies typically will opt for the snuggles and the cuddles and the nursing to sleep. That's what they would choose.
That's right, yeah.
I mean, if you can do it, go for it, but don't feel that you have to, that you're doing your child a disservice if you can't.
Mm-hmm.
Motion does not equate quality sleep, so often baby will only nap in the stroller or being rocked or danced to sleep, and parents may worry that they're not getting a restorative sleep. But there's actually a lot of science to show that motion actually aids in brain development, and there's a study that they did the heel prick test, where they pricked the heel of the infant while they were being rocked, and they found that it had a pain-killing effect. So there's actually lots of benefits to motion, so you don't need to worry about that. The only time I think it becomes a problem is if you feel that you have to get up at night and rock your baby throughout the night. When it's hurting your own balance, then that's one thing. But if you're just looking at the optimal sleep for the baby, it's not a problem, unless it's a problem. You have to condition or train your child to get used to less contact, and that totally falls into the category of so that what? If it's about your baby getting the best start, you want to make sure that they develop great habits with sleep. You can still definitely achieve that and still parent your child to sleep if that's what gets the job done and gets everybody the most sleep. So you don't have to do anything. Babies don't need to be fed after X amount of months, and that I think is based on whether they whether they have the ability to developmentally, but that doesn't mean that they don't have to. And I always look at it, coming from so many years in the fitness industry, I worked with a lot of bodybuilders, and they would actually set their alarms and get up and have a whole cucumber, because if they ate in the middle of the night, it would help them build fast. And that totally makes me think of babies, because they're growing so much in the first 2 years that it would make sense that they would more often than not probably choose to feed at night. And so you're not doing them a disservice by cutting out those feeds. There's no point where you have to. They will end up weaning on their own if you let it be. And baby sleeping through the night reduces postpartum depression for the mother is another sleep myth. And I'll talk about the fact behind that. And I'll just start with that. Why not? Going to number 5. Postpartum depression is actually reduced from the mother's ability to get back to sleep upon being woken. So I think that's just important to share, because if you're feeling anxious or you're having a hard time achieving balance and you think that that it begins and ends with your baby sleeping through the night, that's not necessarily the case. But there's a lot of things that you can do to help you be able to get back to sleep when you are woken, and that's with your sleep environment. That's with one big thing I would say is have your phone off an hour before you go to bed and don't turn it on in the middle of the night. Because if you're getting up with your baby and then you're spending an hour researching baby sleep, then that's going to make you more tired. And then mother's access to support. So being on this call, seeking like-minded friends that you can vent to, and you can go on attachmentparenting.ca and find a support group that's free in your area. And those are the 2 pieces that have actually been most linked to reducing postpartum depression and anxiety. As I said, babies can and will naturally self-wean. The benefits of skin-to-skin contact have no expiration. And that makes me think of another question of a 5-month-old that we got that will only nap 20 to 30 minutes if they're alone, but if they're with mom, they nap 60 to 90 minutes. And that is very, very common. More babies than not would nap longer if they could be touching mom.
That's true. Yeah.
They've grown in your womb for 9 months, and they're still fresh to the world, and that's where they feel most comfortable. So it's normal. Hopefully that gives you peace of mind. But how to deal with it. I've had moms in my group that have had, the biggest success I've seen is just being at peace with that and kind of having a little station set up. Put Oprah on, have your drink beside you, make sure you've gone pee, and just have your little nap station and go with it. Or be able to be okay that it's going to be a shorter nap, and just, you've got to do what you've got to do. If you need to put baby down and you can't be sitting there watching your show during nap time, and it would make more sense for you to have half an hour alone, then do that, and just be okay that they will have a shorter nap, and be okay that they'll be cranky and realize that this time is fleeting. As I said, the motion aids in brain development, and the temperament of your child plays a huge role in their sleep, and also the temperament of you as the caregiver plays a huge role. If you're very stressed out, then it's harder for many babies to settle when the parent that's putting them to sleep is very stressed out and anxious. They totally feed off that energy. I've seen a lot of parents actually, there was 4 in a row, it was really weird, that had a separation at birth where the baby had to be taken into hospital, and they were in the incubator, and they were on scheduled feeding, they had to be under lights, and each time that the baby was more anxious, like more, even wanting that skin-to-skin contact even more so. So all of these factors play a role into the temperament of your baby and their attitude towards sleep, and just best thing you can do is have them trust that their need for proximity will be met, and that you will be there for them, and then they will trust that and learn to have that confidence on their own. Maybe later than we might have hoped, but it will come. Most babies don't sleep through the night. That's just one that deserves a slide of its own. And this is based on a study. The visual there for you is the orange. In a study it was, I can't remember the amount of babies that they studied, but at 6 months of age, there was only a small amount that were sleeping through the night. It was actually 16% were sleeping through the night, 17% were waking 2 to 8 times, and the rest were always changing. They'd sleep through the night sometimes they'd wake up 8 times. And I think the point in that is just that babies are humans, and they're changing and they're growing a lot in this first couple of years. So you might think, oh, these pajamas that they were wearing are what did it. That's why they slept through the night last night. But reality is it's really hard to know, and it's ever changing. And that's, I think, the most stressful thing is just the change and then not being able to predict what's going to happen night to night. So if we can get that piece where we're okay with that and we're flexible that we don't know what's going to happen, then that can just relax mom enough to get through it a little better. Sleep training usually doesn't work. This is a recent study that came out, and it was over 411 families that were studied that did either extinction or controlled crying, where they go in after 5, 10, 15 minutes. And the orange represents it made no difference. Even if they'd done sleep training 4 times or more, it made no difference in the number of wake-ups. The green represents that it was 24%, I believe. No, it was 24% that had reduced night waking, and then a smaller percent that had no night waking at all. And we had actually a question come through with an 8-month-old that was sleep trained and was giving 10 nights straight to mom, sleeping through the night, and now they're not going down into their crib as easily. Their eyes are popping open, they're wanting to be picked up, and then when they finally do go down, they're getting up for hours in the middle of the night and then getting up for the day at 4 a.m. wanting to play at 4 a.m. So
well, they do, don't they want to play? Oh dear.
Yeah. And that does end. But the point being that, like, you can have the same situation with a mom that was, co-sleeping for that first 8 months, or a mom that sleep trained and have the exact same situation, and that's 8 months, 9 months is usually a common sleep regression time, also 4 months. And it's, again, I always go back to the brain is, the first 2 years it actually grows to 70% of an adult's brain. So that's a tremendous amount of growth happening and a tremendous amount of change. So what might have worked or happened yesterday is not working today is totally normal, totally to be expected considering all of the changes that are taking place. My mom talks about how she remembers me knowing my alphabet and then all of a sudden I forgot it. She thought it was the weirdest thing. So they could gain a skill, forget the skill, gain it again. It's not a linear line. It's an up and down that progressively ramps up. And night waking, this is a big one because this is such a huge question and concern, and issue that parents are wanting to solve is getting those night wakings down. Keep in mind that a sleep cycle of an infant is every 50 to 60 minutes, and then when it matures to more like ours, it's a 90-minute sleep cycle. So that's why babies can wake up 8 times or more, is that when they're in that vulnerable REM sleep, that light stage of sleep where they're dreaming, anything that makes them uncomfortable in the slightest, and my son is very sensitive, so when he was an infant, he was a constant round the clock, every hour and a half would wake up if the slightest, who knows, could have been pajamas, wanting to nurse, lonely, cold, but some temperaments are more sensitive to others and will require more assistance than others. Some can self-settle. They might suck on a thumb or have a lovey, and if that works, great, but if it doesn't, that's just their temperament. And that light sleep is tremendously beneficial. So if you have a frequent night waker, just tell yourself they've got a high survival instinct and they won't settle for anything but the best. But sleep researchers have actually said that babies sleep smarter than adults because of the blood flow doubles to the brain during that light stage of sleep. That blood flow is what helps it develop and grow. So we wouldn't want babies to sleep deeper than they naturally are, because then they wouldn't get the benefits of all that light sleep, which is where they're getting all that great brain growth. And it happens to be really concentrated in the area of brain that controls breathing. That's why it's recommended that mother sleeps close to baby for at least the first 6 months, is because it's recognized that the sleep cycles match up and the mother acts as a natural pacemaker, regulates breathing, and so on. Also, I'm thinking that they probably reconcile a lot of what happens to them in the day during that light stage of sleep. All that stimulation and activity. This is my husband and my son.
Oh, that's cute. That's so sweet.
That's when he was 11 months old, I think. And if you can have other people in your village be able to parent your child to sleep, that's a great way to get some more balance in your life. You know, if it doesn't have to be mom or nothing, it can be, you can get other people. And, you know, my son didn't love it at first. He would prefer mom. And it was hard in the beginning to not jump in and take over, but if you do, then you're sending a message that they have to be rescued from dad or grandma, whoever. And it's a great gift to offer them to get their own ability to soothe. And what my husband actually ended up doing with my son, which only he can do and I can't do it, is he does a meditation with him. And he still does it at 3. Sometimes he'll do the muscles, and he'll just talk. My son will lay beside him and he'll talk about all the different muscles in his body, or sometimes he'll talk about his bones. And not only has it been great bonding for them and a great way to parent my son to sleep, but he's actually, he said the other day, "Mommy, you're squishing my sternum and my abdominal muscles."
Oh, that's good. Building his vocabulary.
Yeah.
Oh.
So there's lots of benefits to being parented to sleep, and Mother Nature makes no mistakes. We know the motion's beneficial. We know the skin-to-skin contact has a pain-killing effect. It boosts oxytocin, which is a sedative, and that our breast milk contains tryptophan, and that tryptophan peaks late in the day. So all of this is for a purpose. This is natural. So when you're working against it, you're working against these factors, which are great. You know, when we shift our perspective and work with them, it can be great. There's just, you know, there's a lot of hype about self-soothing and teaching our children to self-soothe, but when you break it down with developmental science, when self-soothing is truly learned is more into toddlerhood, when they're able to fully understand and remember, you know, their parents helping them get to sleep or soothing them. What it was meant when the phrase was originally coined was that the baby wasn't signaling when they wake up. But he's later retracted that to say he would bet that most non-signaling awakenings occur without active self-soothing. So basically that the baby's waking up and not crying, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're soothing. They're just not crying. So if the baby was soothed, if you looked at their brain, there wouldn't be cortisol. They would be oxytocin. So that's something you can think about and know, is my baby relaxed and truly soothing themselves, or do they need a little bit of help? And that's okay, because they're just taking a little bit longer to learn self-regulation. So you might be wondering, a lot of parents worry, they think that their baby or toddler isn't getting enough sleep. So this is just a little chart for you to check the age, the hours per 24 hours that baby actually needs. number of naps, number of wake-ups you can expect. This is something that you just don't see in the baby sleep books. I think it's important to share. And the reasons for waking. So remember that the sleep cycle is every 50 to 90 minutes, depending on the age. And so there's that vulnerable window where they could definitely wake up every 2 hours for a long, long time. So how do you deal with that? There's my son again. He's just the star of the show. And we all love pictures of sleeping babies too.
They're so peaceful looking.
You just forget about all the tantrums and
yeah, you do.
Mm-hmm. Sleep begets sleep, so good naps equal better sleep at night. But again, I know Judy said this in another webinar, the sleep books are all missing a chapter, which is the chapter of your specific child. Some babies definitely can go on less sleep. So I've met 10-month-olds that have 15-minute naps but sleep through the night. And then the mother wonders, how can I lengthen the nap? And I say, there's no problem. You can't have it all. And I'm a big believer in don't wake a sleeping baby too. So if you just, you could take a week, for example, and just write down when the baby tends to go to sleep and when they tend to wake up, and you'll for sure see a pattern emerge. If you have to impose a schedule, if you don't have that ability to let them set their schedule, they are amazing at thriving, and they'll do what it takes to thrive, and they will adjust. They will adapt to the schedule. So I definitely recommend cued care and following the baby's lead and allowing them to set the pace. So aim for, all you can do is set the conducive sleep environment. Aim for good naps. If it doesn't happen, the worst thing you can do is stress or be upset with your baby because they're only human. I think about my husband the other night was, he had to work at 4 in the morning, so he had to go to bed early because he had to get up really early, but he couldn't. He was tossing and turning, and I thought in that moment, we stress so much about our babies learning how to sleep, but you'd think by 38 years old you would know, but we always have issues, and it depends on so many factors that are going on. If you're excited, if you're hungry, if you're what happened in the day. There's just too many factors to possibly control everything. So the best thing you can do is go with the flow. A bedtime routine is great because babies, and then especially as they get older, it really just kind of cues them to know what's happening next. So I know Judy said in the last sleep call about putting the house to bed. That's something we've been doing for a long time because we learned that melatonin production is hindered if you're exposed to white lights, like lighting in your house, or street lights, or your computer, or your phone. When you're exposed to that, it suppresses the best melatonin production for 90 minutes, up to 90 minutes after you've been exposed to it. So one of the things you can do, not just for your baby or toddler, but for yourself, is to dim the lights, be technology free about an hour, hour and a half before you ideally want to go to bed, and that will help get that natural melatonin flowing. Some people say, but I go to sleep fine. Do I still need to do that? No, it's not a problem unless it's a problem. It's just one thing you can do if you think it might help. And then you can put the house to sleep, and then about a half an hour before bed, you can do your little bedtime routine and just pick 3 things that, like, maybe massage or a quick bath, book, and song. We've always loved to do a dance, a bedtime dance. And actually there's a study out of McMaster that just came out that dancing 14-month-olds, the 14-month-old then exhibited more helpful behaviors than 14-month-olds that weren't danced, and they found that the dancing to music, to rhythm with somebody, was helped with the bonding between the toddler and that caregiver, and also for some reason it just made them more helpful. So they did a little test and they dropped a pencil and the 14-month-old would be more likely to pick it up for the person. Healthy sleep associations for us has always been music, but whatever. I mean, some people are musicians and like to play a little bit of guitar. You just do what fits you and fits your personality, and your baby will totally get used to that. And then activated connection and caregiver's energy, and the reason why I have that bolded is depending on how sensitive your child is. My son is extremely sensitive, so that's more important for a more sensitive child. They're even more affected by the energy of their caregiver, and the connection, meaning you can't just expect to, because it's time, to just go through the bedtime routine and get them to go to sleep if you haven't been totally tuned in, playing with them, reading books, and been focused, not just there in body, but there in spirit as well, if that makes sense. If not, then they may need to work out some willies or play a little bit to get some stuff out, and then really it only takes about 15 minutes of just totally tuning in and just telling yourself, I'm seeing things from their eyes, I'm not, my phone is off, I'm focused 100%, 15 minutes, and a lot of magic can happen in those 15 minutes. Activate the connection, manage your own energy, and then start your bedtime routine. Safe sleep, and I'm also going to talk about bedroom environment here too, because 70% of parents admit at one time or another to sleeping with their baby, so I really think it's worth mentioning that if you've done that intentionally, or even if you haven't slept with your baby, like I said, up to 70% do at some point or another, so I think it's worth checking out. Judy, on attachmentparenting.ca you have a safe sleep section?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, we have, okay. Yeah, we have some guidelines on what are risk factors, because no sleep environment is 100% risk-free safe. There are risk factors with cribs. There's also risk factors with co-sleeping or bed sharing. And the more people know about what those factors are and take steps to mitigate it, I think is the better. So, yeah, we have some tips on the website.
Great. So definitely look at that, attachmentparenting.ca. The Public Health Agency of Canada recommends that the baby sleep on their own sleep service next to parents for a minimum of 6 months because of the benefits of reducing SIDS. Also that they're breastfed, it's a non-smoking home, and that they're put on their back to sleep. And I did get a question about a baby that only wants to sleep on their side, and as soon as they're on their back they start to cry out. And they cry if they're placed down in the crib as well. And with that, it's so hard to say, but if your gut is telling you something's wrong, then take baby to the doctor. It sounds like it could even just be gas, but or it could be that they just want to be sleeping beside you towards your breast if you're breastfeeding. There's a lot of possibilities there. So if you think in your gut that it might be something medical, then get it checked out. It could be something that even just seeing someone that knows about infant massage could ease their discomfort. Also, safe sleep, also the emotional piece I wanted to touch on too. That's something that attachment parenting talks about, is that it's not recommended to use cry it out or controlled crying because we don't know the full potential risks. And we do know for sure that the benefits of responsive parenting and responding with sensitivity for the best start for baby. Some common issues that I see again and again are the sleep progressions. They're often called regressions at 4 months, 6 months, 9 months, and 12 months. Most commonly I see parents at 4 months or 9 months, and I think it's because 4 months, it's all so new, and that 4 months just feels like it's been forever. And their books are saying that their sleep is going to mature and they're going to sleep more like an adult, and so when are they going to be sleeping through the night? Any day now. I remember with my son going, okay, 4 months is coming. He's just going to magically start sleeping through the night.
Yeah, you kind of wonder if they read the book. Didn't you read the book? That's true.
So I just think if we know that that's happening, that just that information helps us have realistic expectations of our baby, and can just perspective is everything. And then at 9 months, so one of our questions actually was that someone in the 4-month baby was sleeping 4 to 5 hours now, and now up every 2 hours since hitting 4 months, and that's totally common. I almost think it's harder when they were sleeping through the night and then they stopped than if they just never slept through the night. Mm-hmm. You think, woohoo, we did it. Oh, no. And that, all I can say is that it's nothing you've done wrong. Babies are babies, ever changing, and they're just more aware. It's like they wake up at 4 months, like literally and figuratively. They're smiling, they're more alert, they're more aware, and so they might be more demanding too. And somebody with a 9-month-old sent us a question: why does he wake up so much, 2 to 5 times a night, and why does he nap 45 minutes? And I don't know why. I don't know the whole situation of where he's sleeping. Just remember, it's just like anybody. It's just like if my husband had a rough night, nobody could tell me why, because they wouldn't know the whole situation of what he's going through, and that's the same. But most commonly at 9 months, they're regressing because they are reaching the developmental stage of more independence, believe it or not, where they're cruising and starting to work towards walking, which will be happening in a few months, most of the time. And so with that independence and that wanting to venture and be mobile, it's like learning to fly, and they're so excited, and it's like a yin and yang where that independence comes more dependence, and they tend, at nighttime is the most vulnerable time, and they just want to be with mom. It's usually what it is. Wake up is considered too early. That's one that, they're waking up at 5, wanting to party. What do I do? The best thing you can do, you can't say, just go back to sleep, because they won't. The best thing you can do is just think, well, I love, Judy recommended another call as well, to get outside for sunshine when you're feeling really, really tired. That just does a wonder for, we're in summertime, so we can really employ that now. But just getting outside can just change your mood, give you some vitamin D and some fresh air, and change your perspective. And also, I think it kind of holds you accountable because you're in public to be in a better mood, and then you fake it till you make it. Too long to fall asleep. The solution is, if it takes more than 40 minutes, then you just need to take a break and then try again, because by then you're getting resentful and irritated probably. If you're not, and then you've got the patience of the saint, then that's fine, but most of us would be irritated by that point. So just read some books, do something quiet, take a break, and then come back to it. They're probably not tired. Even they may be overtired, but the point is you kind of missed that window, so you just need to catch the next window. We'll only sleep with or on someone. The best remedy for that is meeting the need for proximity. The best remedy long term. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you've heard of that. You can move on to getting the next need fulfilled once the first one, the one preceding it, has been fulfilled. So in the first 2 years, the child's major, most prominent need is the need for proximity, the need for cuddles and closeness. So by meeting that need, you have a more independent toddler and child who has less sleep issues later on. I know, just anecdotally, my son, from the time he was 18 months old, was asking to go to bed. It's never been, I've been very conscious to not make it a fight, and to make it, because babies can only control sleep, potty, and food. So those are the 3 areas that, if you just tell yourself again and again, my main goal is a healthy attitude about toileting, food, and sleep. A healthy attitude, not a battle. And looking at it from that point of view with that end goal in mind can give you the best long-term solution so that you have less issues later on, because it becomes harder when that need hasn't been met to deal with when they're 7, 8 years old. The vicious cycle is when baby's not sleeping and we're stressed out, and then the baby's not sleeping because we're stressed out. And that's just this vicious circle, and they feel it. Like, I talk so much about the energy because it really makes a difference. So you might have to be creative with how you'll solve that, building your village, getting outside help, just being okay to ask for help from others, your parents or your in-laws, to just help. Think to yourself, what do I really need most right now, and what's one simple thing I can do that will take me one step closer to getting that need met. For me, when I stop and ask myself that, and it's something usually simple, like I just need to have a bath. And then I'll feel so much better once I just say, hey, can I have a bath, to my husband to get that need met, instead of feeling like, it begins and ends with me, and it doesn't. There are people that want to help you around you. And if you can just tell yourself when you're feeling stressed out, I'm a big fan of affirmations. All is well. Baby sleeps, that's okay. If baby's awake, it's okay. I'll deal with it. It's just one day. I'm just making it through today. And what do I need, and how can I get that need met? And again, just taking it day by day, because it's not going to help being stressed out. But know your boundaries and know your signs of burning out so that you can meet your needs before it gets to be too late. Okay, so remember I asked those questions at the beginning of the call. Now I want you to just think, now that you know what's developmentally appropriate, do you still think that your baby or toddler has a sleep problem? And has that shifted? Is there a different actual problem? Like you don't have enough support around you, or you haven't been making enough time for your partner, you feel like you can't keep up on housework. What is the actual root problem, and what's something that you can do to solve that root problem? Because chances are probably almost everybody that I've met that says that they have a sleep problem is doing an amazing job with parenting their babies and toddlers at night. So you're probably doing amazing, and your baby is probably absolutely perfect. So is there something you can do to solve the root problem? And just to recap the tips that I talked about, and I don't think I talked too much about nutrition, so I'll give that a moment now. Thinking holistically instead of in a vacuum with the sleep. Optimizing nutrition for mom. I always remind mothers that this is a time when you are practically running a triathlon. If you want to think about what your body's going through and what your mind is going through. So therefore, if you can think of it that way, how would you feel yourself if you were actually running a triathlon? But what tends to happen is mom puts themselves last. They end up going hours and hours without eating. They're drinking Coca-Cola to get through the day, and they're just putting themselves last. And so there's things you can do, like one of my favorite tips is to just load up a smoothie at nighttime, load up your blender, and so you just have to press the button in the morning when you wake up, and then you have a big glass of amazing nutrition that you can sip on when you're busy throughout the day. That's a great way to get your fruits and vegetables in. An omega-3, getting your omega-3s is important for your regulating your mood so that you can handle this. You would do that through having wild salmon twice a week, or if you don't eat fish, getting ground flax, chia seeds, hemp seeds are all things that you can just sprinkle on your cereal or in your smoothie and get your omega-3s, or you can get a supplement as well. Building your village. So thinking about who is already in your life, kind of taking stock of that. Who's already in your life? How can I call on them more? Because they want to be there for you. And do you need to build a bigger village? Do you need to go to a support group? Go online, go on Facebook and search attachment parenting, and you'll find tons of wonderfully supportive families that would love to support you, virtually or in person. And stress management, maybe you need to see somebody professionally to help you with managing your stress. That's totally okay. If you have, if you're on maternity leave and you have an employee assistance program, often seeing a therapist is often covered with your employee assistance program, so check that out as well. Working with your baby's unique personality, so instead of working against, working with, their bedroom environment, fan to circulate the air, and also that there's white noise, blackout shades. I talked about the white light, so if you have night light and you have a red light bulb, which you can get at like Canadian Tire or something, a red light is better for the melatonin, like I talked about. And calming techniques. If you're feeling burnt out, then you may want to have your partner or somebody else find different ways to parent baby to sleep so that it's not only one way. But if it's not a problem, then it's not a problem. Don't borrow trouble. And remembering that, I want to solve these issues so that if you look at it more holistically, your baby will develop actually optimally. So you'll have the best start for your baby. Your baby will have a healthy attitude about sleep, I promise you. Your baby will be independent from their needs being met early on. And it's a great opportunity to get stress management techniques, and just making it through this period can serve you for the rest of your life once you've realized what you can make it through. And be intentional about taking time for yourself and for your partner is a great gift. This is like, I've drawn this out before, like a lifeline of if you're married, how long you will be together for, and then the tiny, tiny little piece that is the nighttime parenting piece. A lot longer if you're Judy and you have 5 children, but it's still. she's got an amazing website. I can't remember what it's called, where you and your husband and going out on dates.
Oh yeah, date night, YYC. Yeah.
Even if you're not in Calgary, it's really, really cute. Date night YYC. It just goes to show that the season really is fleeting, even with 5 children, and there's still lots of time to work to make sure that your romance stays alive. And you can, while you're going through this period of nighttime parenting, it just looks different. It's just, you've got to snap up those moments when you get them and be intentional about it. So we do have time, Judy and I, to answer any questions, but I thought I would leave it up on this slide while we go through any questions that have come through, just for some food for thought, because often the answer will be one of these things.
That's great, Brandie. I loved what you said, and I find I do have a sleep problem with my kids these days, and it's how to get those teenagers up before noon. Maybe that's a different webinar. But okay, so we'll throw it open to questions now. So if you want to, you can write your question in the chat box, and we will answer it that way. Or what I could do is I will keep an eye on the hands up, and I could unmute you, and you can talk to us about the questions. So we've had a question right from the beginning. And it says, can you address toddler nap habits? My 14-month-old has had trouble napping since he was 8 months, but as of a few days ago, he is resisting all naps. I try to let him sleep on me, but he'll only sleep for 15 to 20 minutes. Yeah. So I think you kind of answered that one, but is there any thoughts on that you want to add to that, Brandie?
Well, I would just, like I said, the little ones want to thrive. So it's not, if you are too coercive with the situation, then they will pick up on that, and it will just be a battle that you won't win. So and it's common that I've definitely seen little 14-month-olds drop their nap, believe it or not, and have a nap like maybe once a week kind of thing. So I'd be curious to know how that toddler sleeps at nighttime, because maybe they're just wanting to consolidate their sleep, or maybe it's a bit of a power struggle and it's just a phase. But she said that they've been resisting it since since the baby was 8 months old.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and you know, yeah, sometimes toddlers give up naps, or they definitely really shorten them very early, much more earlier than we want them to. But that doesn't mean you can't instill a bit of a quiet time still, you know, where the nap would take place. Just say, okay, it's quiet time now, and you can't make them sleep, but you can, you know, put them in their crib, or, you know, let them have books or toys, and sometimes I just put a movie on and they do eventually fall asleep. So
yeah.
And we've had quiet time since they went to kindergarten, right? So, because I needed that time to recharge, but yeah. Okay, we have Jenny. Yeah. You have a hand up, so I'm going to unmute you. Hi, Jenny.
Hi there. I'm actually the one who is
How's that
inquiring.
question?
I'm actually the one who is inquiring about not really stopping the nursing to sleep, but the reason he only falls asleep on the breast for the most part. I mean, he'll fall asleep in the stroller or in the carrier or in the car, but bedtime is exclusively me on the breast, and my husband and I are trying to figure out a way where he can participate in that, and maybe a night or two just put our son Archie to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
The reason being is because there's been instances where there's been a meeting that I've needed to attend in the evening and I couldn't attend because I had to be at home to put Archie to sleep, as well as if in case he woke up. Also, I'll be starting soccer, so I'd like to, you know, go to soccer practices. So it's just a once in a while sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if there's any suggestions, ideas on how we can get my husband involved.
Well, 9 months, I'll just say, is generally really a tough time no matter what. So that's to be expected regardless of if you're trying to make a change. So you could, I mean, if you can wait, you may want to, but if you can't, that's fine too, if you're just at peace with the fact that it's going to be a challenging few weeks. But what I would say is I would just get your husband to do it, and he'll just find his, like, think of it this way, your little one is fussy and cries with you as well.
Yes.
So he'll have to do that with your husband, and your husband will figure out their own way, and he will get used to, let's say it's one night a week, that's Daddy's time to put him to bed. And as far as ways to put him to bed, you could, you said he'll only fall asleep in the car or in the stroller, is that what you said?
Yeah, well, he'll fall asleep, basically either in motion or on the breast.
Mm-hmm. So you could try dancing. Have you tried dancing him to sleep, like where he's kind of up in your arms with his head on your shoulder and you're just moving to music?
I have, but I inevitably give up and just put him on the breast.
Yeah, it'd be probably easier for your husband to try.
Yeah, what he's tried is following the same routine that we usually do, except instead of Archie going on the breast, Matt will just bounce him in the room. But he just, as soon as he hits the point where he starts to bounce, Archie just loses it because he knows that's the time when he goes on the breast. So kind of dancing, bouncing hasn't worked for them.
Is he able to stay calm through that and just talk to him softly and say, Mommy's going to be back, you're with Daddy?
I think he is, and I always jump in.
Yeah, you should. Well, you can jump in, but not if you want to be able to.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm thinking, because he cries, and we don't want to do the cried out. We don't do that, so it's really hard for me to hear him cry. But Matt stays very calm.
That's good. Crying crying with a caregiver is totally different than crying it out alone. Remember that too.
Okay.
He's still getting the lesson that his cries are important and that he matters and that someone's taking care of him, and he's learning the lesson that Dad's one of those people too.
Okay. And do you think we should stick with the same routine as we always do and then let Dad take him, or should we kind of create a different Dad routine?
No, I would stick with the same routine.
Okay. Okay, well I guess we'll just keep trying. But you said if I can wait it out, how long do you think? Like a year, or if we don't give it a try now at 9 months?
You could give it a try now at 9 months. If it's really brutal and you feel like, you know, he's just not, like he's making himself sick, upset kind of thing, then you gotta tune into what as parents, what your gut is telling you. And you may find it easier at 10 months, you may find it easier at 11 months. You kind of have to try and see, and then don't give up. You know,
Right.
wait, try again.
Okay. Okay, so we'll just keep trying.
Do you have anything you want to add, Judy?
No, I would say, yeah, he's supported by Dad, so, you know, that's okay. And that's usually a advice we give to people in classes too, is, yeah, to try that.
Okay. Yeah, because the two of them have an excellent relationship, so there's right there.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's great.
So if they do give it a try, I'll try and let them do their thing without jumping in too soon.
Yeah.
And
That's
it may
good.
be easier when you're not home. You
Yeah.
don't know you're there.
Well, that's what
true.
I'm thinking. Maybe I should just pick a night just to kind of go outside to the park or something and let them
Yeah.
do their thing.
Yeah. Okay, great. Okay. We actually have a lot of questions, Brandie, so we'll see if we can get through them. This one's from Melissa, and she said, I've read that motion is like a swing is bad. A swing is bad for sleep, as it's not restorative sleep. I read that one too, and then she also asked, what about twins? If I don't wake one, etc., it would be completely exhausting chaos. So, yeah.
If I don't wake one?
Wake one. It sounds like waking one without the other. And is Melissa still here? Yeah, she's still here. Okay, Melissa, if you're there, we're going to mute you. Do you want to answer that, Brandie, or?
Sure. With regards to the swing, it's totally fine. But you should be awake and there and present when they're sleeping in the swing. It's not something that you should be ever left unattended in. But just think of it this way. Yeah, I would really, if they get sleep and you get some time, then it's not anything that's going to affect them long term. I think that's a bit of fear mongering there. So don't stress about that. There's lots of benefits to motion as well. So if it's working, then there's no need to stop. With twins, if you have to have, definitely that's a situation where you have to have a schedule, just like if you have a child in kindergarten and the baby's sleeping and you got to go pick up your kid from school, you got to wake up the baby. So the twins will adjust. It's okay to impose a schedule, but I'm saying you don't have to impose a schedule unless you have to.
Okay. Melissa, does that help?
Yeah, no, it does help. It's just it's been tricky trying to schedule two different personalities over time.
Yeah.
I think James McKenna wrote a book about twins specifically. You may want to check out.
Sorry?
I think James McKenna,
Okay.
if you want to Google him, I think he wrote a book about twins that you may want to check out because it's very attachment parenting minded.
Okay, good. Thank you.
I'd like to add to that. My first two boys were 14 months apart, and although they weren't twins, we had
close
them
enough.
side by side in cribs, and when we moved them both in the same room, they would wake each other up, they party, that kind of stuff. But after a while, they got used to each other, and one could be up screaming and the other one would stay asleep. So they do get conditioned.
Yeah, we do have them sleeping together now, and they're in the same crib together in our room, but it's getting very crowded. They're very tall babies. They're only 3 months, but they're very long. So we're going to have to probably move them out soon because they're running out of space with each other. They're steamrolling each other all night.
How old are they?
3 months.
3 months. Ooh.
Yeah, they were 7'5" and 7'1" at birth. They're big babies. Yeah, they're big twins.
Wow, that's great. Well, later on they can sleep together in bunk beds or not, you know, or together in the same bed. I found when siblings could sleep with each other, it just eliminated a whole lot of separation anxiety and the nightmare thing and the monster thing, and yeah, that was good. Okay, thanks. Okay, so next question is, Julie asked, what if your baby clearly prefers a tummy position for sleep? And I think you answered that pretty well in the webinar, Brandie, too. Some of these are earlier questions in the webinar. So mine is not at all comfortable on his back. As soon as I put him on his side or tummy, he calms down and sleeps much longer. He does sleep beside. Do you want to add any more comments to that other than what you talked about, or Brandie?
No.
No? Okay.
No,
That's pretty. And usually babies around 5 months tend to roll over on their own on their stomachs.
Yeah.
And when that happens, there's nothing you can do about it. They're, you know, you can't stay awake all night and turn them back to make sure they're on their back. It's just, in sleep classes, we say too, you know, you can't do anything at that point. So, but it is each family's decision. Okay, next question was, I'm expecting a baby next year when my toddler will be 22 months. He has very high needs. How do I meet both their needs when it comes to both naps and nighttime sleep? And this is from Emily. Hi, Emily, are you still there?
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Wow, yeah. Congratulations. Brandie, do you want to answer that, or do you need any more information? So it sounds like the toddler is a real spirited guy. Or a baby.
He is very spirited. And I held him for the first 8 months of his life. The nighttime sleep is great. I was the other question about him suddenly not napping. So I find I've just been stressing, like, how am I going to deal with him and then hold another baby for 8 months straight?
Yeah. You never, that's kind of almost a borrowing trouble scenario, because you never know. That second baby could be totally easygoing, but by 22 months, his temper might be totally different. He might really rise to the occasion. I would definitely, and I'm sure you are preparing him for that, like, well, not yet, because you just found out you were pregnant, right?
Yes.
But you know, you could do little books about becoming a big brother and that kind of thing to get him ready for it. And you're going to find your own groove and tactics that are going to help you. So it would be difficult to just give you like a, you know, but it's hard to say. It'll just work itself out, but it really will. You'll probably find that, say, you're able to nurse baby and read a story to the 22-month-old, or maybe he has to watch a little show for a minute while you're upstairs tending to baby waking up, and it'll just be a juggling act. But if he's high needs and spirited, maybe he'll be really empathetic and be your helper at that age. They love to help, so include him as much as possible. You know, he will probably have some behavioral regressions, and to be understanding and forgiving of that. And I don't know, Judy, if you have anything to add.
I do. It just sounds like mine too. My first was very spirited, and the second one was very easygoing, and that's quite calming. You will nobody ever gets two spirited kids in a row or two easygoing kids in a row. So don't worry. Your baby will probably be very easygoing, which means they sleep well, they sleep anywhere. I found it easy for naps. When I wanted a nap, I would get the high need one down first and get them sleeping, because the easy one's easier to parent to sleep. And then I could get a nap in when both of them were napping. So more scheduled, easygoing one, mold that baby around the toddler high need when they're sleeping, kind of thing. And then you'll get more sleep. Anyways, that's what worked for us, is that, yeah, kind of work it around the older one.
Okay, I was worried about if the baby has to sleep, 4 or 5 times a day, just putting him or her down while the almost 2-year-old is, running wild and wanting a lot of attention. But like Brandie said, it may change in 9 months, so I'm just basing it on how he is today.
Yeah. Baby wearing, you may just have to wear baby and continue on with your day. That'll be what's going to happen the first 4 months.
Well, that's what I did with my son.
And when you have a second one, you tend to go to a lot more play groups, and the new baby will spend a lot more time in the car, and that's just the way it is, right? Like, you're a different parent for every baby in the birth order, and that's good. It's got pros and cons, and it is what it is. So, yeah, your baby will be spending much more naps on the go.
Okay.
And you know what, moms too, they tend to, when you wake up with your baby, you hardly get attention with them during the day, so they tend to welcome getting up with babies at night, because that's time you can spend together alone, the two of you.
That's true.
Yeah. So, but don't project ahead. It's you don't know what it's going to be like till you're there. So problem solve once you're there.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so next question is Lauren. My daughter has been co-sleeping since 6 months and refuses to be in a crib. What to do? Let her stay or try to commit to the transition?
Sorry, the baby's been co-sleeping since 6 months?
6 months old and refuses to be in her crib. What to do? Let her stay or let her stay where she is? I don't know. Oh, she's co-sleeping, or try and commit to getting her into a crib. Is that right, Lauren? Are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, hi. Yeah, the question is whether to really push and practice with the crib or to just let her stay in the bed. I mean, I, of course, have the fear that she'll never leave our bed. And my husband is totally fine with it. She's 14 and a half months old right now.
Okay.
And I mean, at this point, I feel like, even if I approach the crib while holding her, she starts to melt down and, throw a fit. And I can see how, for a baby her age, it would seem like, baby jail to move from a king-size bed with me to a little crib on her own. So really, I mean, I feel like I would get better sleep if she was in the crib. It's not a huge deal to wait for me. And like I said, I do sort of have that question and fear of whether she will ever move out and when is the best time. So,
you said your husband is totally fine with whatever?
Yeah, I think he's happy having her in the bed. He feels good with her there. He's not the one waking up to nurse her. He does wake me up and ask to nurse, like, directly. So, and that's really only a couple times a night for us. But it's still something,
Well, I mean, the fear is that she'll sleep with you forever, but the benefit of you've got to weigh, I guess you've got to weigh the pros and the cons. Like, to me, you said that husband's happy and you're getting up twice, So it seems like a pretty balanced scenario now. So the only reason for making a change is you wonder, would you sleep better? And that's probably, you might. You might not. You could, if you feel like you need to night wean, you could do that, and you could even do it while still co-sleeping, if you want to. You know, if like you don't have to choose all or nothing. You could sleep through the night potentially, but before you make that decision, you really, really have to ask yourself if you're ready to give up that tool, that back pocket tool of nursing at night, because it can come in really handy to get through some tough times, sicknesses and teething and so on. Okay. So are you ready just as much as if she's ready?
I mean, it is a nice tool. Last night I tried, she woke me up a lot, like 3 times last night, and for one of the feedings I tried to say, no, not this time, you know. And she and I and my husband were all awake for like 2 hours until I gave in and just nursed her. And I thought I probably shouldn't start doing this until I'm ready to commit to not nursing at all at night.
Yeah.
So I think that's a whole nother topic I haven't researched or, you know.
Yeah. And it gets easier the older they are, too. It gets easier to explain.
Yeah, they can hear you.
Night wean and, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's comforting.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry that if you don't, that you know, now you have to do it. You could definitely wait if you're feeling like you're in an okay balance.
Okay,
not like
so it's not like it'll get much harder as she gets older. That
no,
was
yeah.
Okay.
2 years is commonly, well actually, sorry, 18 months, there's usually a sleep regression, and then the last one's at 2 years. So at 18 months, you will possibly go through a tough time, but those regressions, those tough times are not a great time to make changes because you're just making that tough time harder. It's kind of like survival mode, let's just survive and get through this. And at 18 months is when they're getting up and wanting to play and talk and babble and that kind of thing, and it lasts a few weeks. So I have to warn you of that. I don't want to say it'll get easier, then that hits you and you're like, whoa, it didn't get easier. But and then at 2 years, some, not all, again, they just get up and want to play, and how you deal with that is just it's time for sleep for you and for your partner. So you're not turning the lights on, it's not time to play, but at the same time, if they want to, if you want to have a little basket of toys that they can play with quietly, they can do that, but you're not engaging and playing with them.
Okay, that's a good tip.
I hope that helps. That's not a definitive because it really is your decision to make.
No, that's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, you're welcome.
Okay, our next question is from Karen. Right now, my 5-month-old naps throughout the day at will. When he is tired, usually 3 to 5 times a day. Should I be trying to implement a nap schedule routine, or is it fine to let him determine his own nap times? Okay, and that's Karen. And Karen, are you there, Karen?
Yep.
Okay. Hi.
Hi there.
Okay, so did you get that question, Brandie? Do you want me to repeat it?
5 months old, naps on his own 5 times a day.
Yeah.
And how's night?
He's getting up twice to nurse.
Okay, that sounds like there's no problem there at all.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if I should be making him sleep at certain times. Should the nap be routine, or just let him do whatever he wants during the day?
I don't see that's not a problem unless it's a problem, and it doesn't sound like a problem to me. I think he knows what he needs.
Okay, and little cat naps are fine then if they're sleeping for half an hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally, and especially like that's if you have more children, then you totally let go of that. You're whatever, 15 minutes. I don't even watch the clock anymore because there's so much else going on in the house. So just remember to keep that perspective to it. You don't have to clock watch.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we have about 8 more questions, so let's go.
All right.
Okay, this is from Mariette, and it's it's my 9-month-old, so almost 10 months, wakes up every hour and a half to 2 hours. I respond by nursing him immediately back to sleep. Do I continue to do this, or is there another way I can try to get him back to sleep? I've brought him into bed with me, but I don't sleep well, and the same pattern occurs. I've tried rubbing his back and shushing, but still get the same results. I also have a question about co-sleeping. I'm putting this pressure on myself to co-sleep because of all its benefits. Will my child be less independent and confident if I can't co-sleep? So that question is from Mariette. And,
What
okay.
you need? Oh, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Mariette.
Oh, great. Hi, thanks. I appreciate any advice on this because we've been struggling with our son. Since he's been born, he's never been a good sleeper. And both my husband and I are at a end with trying to get him to sleep and us not sleeping also.
The advice I would give you there is that what he needs most is a healthy, happy parents. So if you don't put pressure on yourself, especially if that pressure is making you unhappy and resentful, and because then that's taking away from what's happening in the daytime, right? So I never want people to feel like they have to do anything. Because every scenario, every situation is so unique in a home and with a family.
Right.
I'm wondering if your husband can, well, 2 things. Yeah, I guess the very first thing that comes to mind is if your husband can deal with the nighttime parenting, at least for a little while, if he's willing to do that, if he has time that he can take off so that he can deal with some fragmented sleep and parent him down if you're feeling like you're not. Is that him crying?
That's him. Yeah, he's up now. My husband's gone now. And this is what he does. He screams even louder when my husband goes.
Yeah.
And I don't interrupt, but this is what he does to us all night. So it's frustrating.
Yeah.
Do I continue just to nurse and, go, or just should my husband take that role and we should, I should go only certain times to nurse?
It's tough when you're waking up every hour and a half and you're not sleeping close. I'm wondering if you could do like a sidecar crib where he's in his own space but still close to you.
Yeah, I'd be willing to do that more so than the co-sleeping, because with him in bed, I'm too worried about, what could happen if I'm beside him, And I don't sleep properly, so I'm not relaxed. But I need to get some sleep, and this is our second child, and my first one, I did the cry it out, and it was really hard on me, so I don't want to do it this time.
Yeah.
With my second, like I really refuse to do it, but I'm running into these problems where he's not sleeping at all.
Yeah. My son was very similar, woke every hour and a half. I don't even know when that stopped. It just kind of, there was no like, it stopped. It just kind of gradually did. So it's, you can, but if you need your own space, then that's one solution I'd recommend. If that's not working, then having Dad go to him and take over nighttime parenting duties can lessen the night wakings, because he's not going to get nursed if Dad comes in. Of course, he'll be more upset in the beginning. But you've got to balance, and it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be bed share or cried out.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And with the co-sleeping and all the benefits that come with co-sleeping, I do believe in all those benefits, and I've tried co-sleeping, but I'm not relaxed. Is my child going to lack in those benefits because I haven't slept with him, or will he still gain these benefits in other ways? I want to be guilt-free kind of thing. If I'm going to miss out on these benefits, I'd rather just, co-sleep, and, eventually I'll get used to it.
Right. It's all a balance, right? Like,
Yeah.
like I said, if it's something that you're not comfortable with, and then you feel like it's impairing your piece of your sanity, then it's not worth pushing through. But if it's something, I mean, it's such an individual decision. Most of the time, you know, it's the opposite where parents are feeling guilty for co-sleeping in, so we want to make sure that they understand that there's benefits to skin, but they can still get those benefits through infant massage and through your time. You know, you could have bath with him for some skin-to-skin time before bed, could be part of your routine. There's lots of things you could do, baby wearing. You know, he's a little bit bigger, so you may want to join a baby wearing club to learn how to get the best carrier, that kind of thing.
Right.
So never do anything out of guilt, because that's not good for anybody.
Right. Okay. Okay, great. Well,
And he's got the benefit of a big sibling. You know, he's got a lot of wonderful love around him.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, he does. That's for sure. Okay, I guess I'll put my husband to the nighttime task for some time. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, by the way, we're answering these questions in order of when they came in. So, okay, next one is Carolyn, and she says, we bed share and are thinking of baby number 2. How can we transition our toddler, 16 months, to a separate sleep surface, and when should we begin? And that's from Carolyn.
Okay.
Hi, Carolyn.
Hi. Hello. So what you could do here is, you said we, so you have a partner, so you could transition your 16-month-old to sleeping with your partner, and then you can handle the nighttime parenting duties on your own with the newborn. And then, like Judy said, when the newborn's older, like 12 months, then you can get them in the sibling room together, and so it's lots of phases for the change, but that's what I would start with, is getting your 16-month-old. When are you expecting your baby?
We're not. We're just thinking about it. But
okay, so you've got lots of time to transition.
Yeah,
that's
so
great.
Is that something we should start doing? Because I'm still nursing very, very frequently overnight.
Mm-hmm.
So is that, like, I'm just thinking about how to work in the nighttime nursing if we're transitioning him to a different sleep surface, and like if we should start that now or later on, and if I should try to.
Just trying to do the math, because a lot of times there's a good success with night weaning at 2, 2.5, so that might be the perfect time when before the baby comes.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't want to do it too close together, because there's a lot of the change needs to be already have his other comfort measures established and not be too close to home to see nursing the newborn, unless you decide to tandem nurse, which a lot of people do. It's not for everyone, but definitely a lot of people do it. So you could just keep on going as you're going, and it may not even be anything that you needed to worry about. So it could be a borrowing trouble scenario too.
But eventually, he'll have, like, when there's another baby, he'd have to be on a separate surface.
Right, yeah. So at that point, him being with Dad, how do you juggle? You could have a family bed, like a safe family bed scenario on the floor where baby's on one side and toddler's on the other side of you.
Okay.
So that they're not beside each other. Or baby's in a sidecar bassinet or crib right beside the bed, and then toddler on the other side of you. Yeah, you could wean him now, but you might not need to. That's the thing.
I'd prefer not to wean him.
Yeah. So it could, then I would definitely say that nutrition is going to be a huge thing that you're going to have to focus on in developing healthy nutrition habits, so that you just have the fuel to be able to deal with nourishing 2 and the wake-ups of 2. or you could even night wean at that point, but you might not have to with your toddler. And ensuring that you have time for yourself, that your partner, that there's shifts or time in the day that you have just you time where you just nap by yourself or you go to yoga or whatever it is that you need to restore your balance, and be very intentional about finding that time for yourself and making sure that you're feeding yourself the best you can be.
Okay. So,
Thank you.
okay.
Welcome.
All right. Next question from Sapna. Is there truth behind teething leading to sleep interruption?
Yes. Definitely.
Yes.
Anything that's uncomfortable for the baby could lead to sleep interruption.
That's right. Yeah, teething is definitely a waker-upper. Sapna, anything you want to add to that, or does that answer your question?
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. You know, I guess for me, I'm just trying to figure out where the change is coming from. My daughter's 7 months now, and I'm wondering if the bedtime routine, everything has been really, consistent, and all of a sudden everything has changed for me. So I'm trying to figure out what it is so I can kind of diagnose it and solve it, I guess, is what I'm trying to figure out. So I was thinking maybe it's teething, because I'm seeing a lot of the behaviors of teething, so I thought maybe that could be it. As you can hear, she's awake now.
Yeah, even if it is teething, and even if you do know that the only thing that can solve it is that tooth finally pushing through. So the best thing you can do is to go with the flow.
Yeah.
And, it's just so tough because we're used to in our life being able to solve and be in control of our situation, and we've got another human that they've got their own agenda and their own stuff going on. So you might.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's also, I sit there and think, people always give you the recommendation that their sleep cycles are all changing. It's, the cycles are in threes, and so I know every child is different, so I'm trying to figure it out, but I mean, I know it just takes time. My anxiety is really about, I'm going back to work in about a month, so I'm trying to figure out and plan it in advance so that I can help support her better while I'm at work. So anyways, I think it's just a matter of time, really.
Yeah, and her caregiver is going to figure out their own ways of soothing her too, and it will be fine.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next question. This is from Sarah. My 3-month-old wakes up in the night from practicing her new skills in her sleep, but she isn't crying. Should I pick her up and soothe her back to sleep, or leave her because she's not crying? My husband and I have had debates on this.
Oh, I love this question.
Yeah.
It was a 3-month-old? Did you say
Yes,
it was a 3-month-old? 3-month-old.
Yeah.
I'm so glad this was asked because I meant to touch on this. That baby will go through periods like this, and there's times when they're like 8 months where they'll be going on their hands and knees and rocking and flopping over, or just getting up and babbling a little bit. And no, you don't have to intervene, because they may be they may actually find a way to settle themselves or comfort themselves to sleep, and you want to let that play out and see how they do. That doesn't mean that they'll do that all the time, but I wouldn't intervene. If you do, I also don't think you're doing them a disservice, so probably you're both right in the debate. If you're like, oh, I don't want them to wake up fully, and then, whatever, and I just want to soothe them back so that, I can keep on sleeping. There's not a harm in that, but there's also not a harm in letting them do their thing, because they may get themselves back to sleep, and then you may have a baby sleeping through the night. So.
Okay. Alrighty, next question. Brandie, I don't know what to do. We got about 8 more questions. I wonder if you want to, okay, I'm going to shut it off at Melina, okay? So if you have any more questions, please feel free to email Brandie or myself this week, and we can answer them through email, right, Brandie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go through these pretty quick. And I'm sorry to rush you, but we have another webinar starting at 11 o'clock your time. So,
Yeah.
Okay, the next one is, my baby is 11 months old and on average waking 2 times per night. He is wanting to nurse, but is it really just to soothe? Because he barely eats. Is there an easy way to get him to go back down without nursing? So 11 months old, I would assume he's probably on solids. And that question is from Dana. Dana, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Brandie, do you want to answer that, or do you want?
Okay, so 11 months old, nursing 2 times at night.
Wondering if
And
it's food or just soothing or...
Much, and that's the main problem, because he's waking up with pretty much a dry diaper. So I know he's waking just to kind of soothe himself back to sleep. He goes down to sleep on his own, wide awake. He kind of wakes up wanting a little bit of mummy time, and mummy's going back to work in a month, and I was just wondering if there's a way that I don't have to wake a couple times a night, because I also have 2 other kids.
You may, when you go back to work, actually not mind that. That's a possibility. Yeah, it's tough. Because really, I think the thing is, if you disturb the one thing, it may affect the other. So if you work on trying to eliminate the wake-ups at night, then he may wake up at 4 a.m. or he may have a hard time settling himself to sleep at the beginning of the night. And part of the reason why he's settling himself so well at the beginning may be because he trusts that you'll come to him at night.
Yeah.
So it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Yeah, like last night I sent my husband in, because he woke like 2 hours after I put him down. And my husband went in. It took him like 45 minutes. He did get him back down.
Okay.
And then he didn't wake till 5. I nursed him at 5, and he went back to sleep till like 8. But my husband does shift work, so it's not a guarantee that he can go in every night if that's the case.
Right. Is there a period of time where your husband can do it for 3 or 4 nights straight?
Right now he could, yes.
Right now he could. So you could definitely give that a try. I just can't make any guarantees that it wouldn't affect his beginning or waking up early.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. They
Okay.
need their mommy, right?
Okay, next question is, some people have left. Okay, Rubina. Rubina says, my 3-month-old will sometimes sleep at night only if he can breastfeed. After an extended period of time, I can remove my nipple and he'll continue to sleep. I think this might turn into a negative sleep association. Is this true? Also, does it cause sore nipples? What can I do to stop this? And that's from Rubina.
Hi, Rubina. I know Rubina.
Oh, great.
So, I'm hearing myself echo. Okay.
So he'll wake up very briefly and he'll kind of be agitated, and then I'll breastfeed him for a little bit. But if I see that he's just suckling and not drinking, I'll try to remove myself. But then he gets agitated and wants to suckle longer. So sometimes it's for 15, 20 minutes. Sometimes I'll doze off, and an hour later I'll wake up and he's still on my breast. So it does cause sore nipples, and I'm wondering if it's a bad thing that he does that, and if there's something else I could try to do to prevent it, or I have tried a soother and he won't take soothers.
Yeah, some babies will only accept mom. I would see a lactation consultant about the sore nipples for sure as soon as you possibly can, because it should never hurt. That's a sign that maybe the latch needs to be corrected, or maybe there's another issue going on. Maybe there's a lip tie or a tongue tie. So I would see a lactation consultant, and you're in Vancouver. Yeah, maybe my friend Natasha knows of someone out there.
Okay.
And but it's not a negative sleep association, for sure not. It's a wonderful thing, and there's tremendous benefits. And actually, one of the things with nursing, like there's a lot of human pacifier is a common phrase that's tossed around, like I'm the baby's human pacifier, but there's so much going on during the suckling, and one of them is, just for an example, if the baby's exposed to any virus, then when they nurse or suckle, they are communicating, their saliva is communicating to your body the virus they've been exposed to. Your body does like an antivirus software update to make sure that your milk produces the antibodies that they need to get better. So sometimes before they're even showing signs that they're sick, this is all happening, and it's just all nature taking course.
Oh, okay.
So nature is beautiful, and what's going on is totally normal and totally beneficial long term. Tremendous benefits. But definitely see somebody about the nipples, because it shouldn't hurt.
Okay. And so, because I did hear it could be a negative sleep association, like where he'll automatically wake up wanting to suckle and need it to go back to sleep, but that's a myth?
Well, he may wake up and need it to go back to sleep. The fact that it's negative is a matter of opinion, not a fact.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, next question is Michelle. Hi, I created a bad habit. My son is 3 years old, and he will only go to sleep if we lie down with him until he falls asleep. How can we get him to fall asleep without us?
Okay, so one thing you can do is like a fade-out technique where you will lay with him. Maybe you're sitting up in the bed to start for a few nights, and then maybe sitting beside the bed in a chair for a few nights, and then move the chair to the middle of the room, and then move the chair to the door, or just stand in the door. And then one thing you can do as well when you're working on fading it out. The thing is, when you're fading out, you need to keep going through the next step of moving away, but you don't want it to ever be traumatic. So one thing you can do to help with that is you can talk about it ahead of time, lots of preparation, maybe for a good week before it happens, and then you can do an activity together. Maybe you together get some nice material and make little hearts out of felt or out of pretty material, and then get a little satchel, and that's like his heart satchel. And then you can say that you're going out, but you're going to be back in 5 minutes with another heart for his satchel, and that by the end of the night his bag will be full. Just something sweet like that. That's shows him that you love him even when you're not there. You're thinking about him all the time, and that your hearts are always together, and that he knows that you will be back. It's like kind of building a bridge to the next time you'll be together. And so you might be able to relax knowing you'll be back in 5 minutes with another heart. And of course, then you just go to bed, and in the middle of the night fill or in the morning fill the bag with the heart.
So keep going back until he falls asleep? Like
5 minutes, 10 minutes, like, just gradually, just popping back in and saying, okay, stroke him, his hair, I love you, and just, gotta do a bit of the dishes, but I'll be back in 10 minutes with another heart, that kind of thing.
Okay.
But definitely talk about it a lot ahead of time that a change is going to happen, and then you can do the fade out method. This is only assuming you're assuming that this needs to change, but it's not a bad habit unless you feel that it's a bad habit. If there's other people happily laying with their baby or even kid until they're 7, it's not a problem unless it's a problem.
Well, that's the thing. We don't want it to become, he's, at 7 years old, we're still trying to, leave without him, sleeping before we, and like I also have a 4-month-old too, so it's, I try to get him to go to bed, and then because of course my son, my 3-year-old, won't allow my husband to put him to bed because he wants mommy. So it gets a little tiring. And of course I'm a little softer than my husband, so of course I say, okay, for 5 more minutes I'll sleep here, and then 5 more minutes, ends up 10 more minutes, and then it ends up 15 more minutes, and then
Yeah, that's a good piece to know about the 4-month-old, because that's a time when, it can be it can be kind of easy in the beginning, and then at 4 months and the baby kind of wakes up and is more demanding, and then it's harder for the older sibling. So it's a tough time for him right now that he wants that extra security. So if you can hold off on any other changes because his world's just been rocked, then great. But if you have to make a change, then, and if it has to just be you, then maybe you can just do the heart technique with you, or you can just talk to him about it, it has to be daddy that puts you to sleep, but I think it's a hard time for him right now, so if you can
hold off a little bit, then
yeah.
it's better for him. Okay.
Can I add a little tip?
Of course.
If you at this stage, he's probably going through separation anxiety at 3 years old, or he's at the tail end of it, but some parents put like a digital photo frame or a laptop or iPad in their room with a bunch of pictures of you and your partner. So take some really close-up pictures of you smiling, different angles, different backgrounds, and put it on a slideshow, and that way he can see you or your picture, but and feel comforted by that, but doesn't need to be next to you. And I just wanted to add too, it's all a stage. Don't project ahead to what it's going to be like at 7. He's in a different developmental stage. His brain development's different. 7 will not be the same as 3. So just live for today.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Okay.
You need to go, don't you, Judy?
I do soon, but I think what I'll do is the ones we haven't, there's a few we haven't answered, and I'm going to take a screenshot, and maybe we could email them this week, or maybe, well, we could
that's a good idea.
Something, and then, because it doesn't let me copy paste the questions, so, but we can screenshot it. So how about we make this next one the last one, and then we can email back to people the answers. So the last one is Fiona, who says, my 5-week-old seems to be easily stimulated during the day and reluctant to take longer naps. Should I be concerned if he's not hitting the 18 to 20 hours that are normal for his age? So 5-week-old baby, and that's Fiona.
Hi.
Hi, Fiona.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Cool.
Are you, do you wear him in a sling or carrier?
I have him in the carrier in the mornings quite a bit, and then he will doze in that sometimes, but then the second I try to take him out to put him into his bassinet, he'll wake up.
Yeah.
He sleeps pretty well through the night, like he's sort of doing the 1.5 to 2 hour installments at night, so he's a good night sleeper, I think. It's more, I was just wondering if he is getting enough during the day.
How many hours of sleep is he getting?
Well, it's hard to, when he was first born, he was getting kind of like a good 3-hour nap every day, and my midwife said that's okay to have one of those, but he seems to have tapered off those. Now he sort of goes for sort of in 20 to 30-minute installments, like maybe once in the afternoon and once in the morning. And then the rest of the time he seems to be sort of fighting it almost, like he'll get drowsy and I'll try and sort of soothe him and put him down, and then he'll sort of startle himself awake a bit.
Yeah, that's totally normal because he's been in your womb. He's still just fresh.
Yeah, listening to all these other questions, I almost thought, I've probably posed this too early. He's only 5
yeah.
weeks old.
That's okay. You better be prepared. I wish I had the information when my little guy was 5 weeks. It would have saved me a lot of Googling.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he probably will sleep longer stretches if he's sleeping in the carrier. Just make sure that you're doing it safely and that there's a clear airway for him to breathe, and that you can always close enough to kiss his head. And I would join a baby wearing group. You can probably find one on Facebook where you can make sure that somebody shows you how to do it properly.
Okay.
And, yeah, he probably just wants to be right with you to sleep. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, that's nice. It's a nice feeling.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Yep.
Is our emails showing there as well?
Fiona, can you see our emails on the screen?
I can, yeah.
Okay,
Good.
perfect.
Yeah. And we can email you tomorrow. So I think, I don't know, where are we? Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so let's close it. So Emily, Angie, Heather, and Melina, we haven't got to your, and Eliza, we haven't got to your questions yet. So there's 5 of you. We will email you tomorrow with answers. I've captured screenshots of your questions, and we can email back and forth, Brandie or myself. So I want to thank everyone for coming. I want to thank Brandie for doing a fabulous webinar on everything to know about sleep. And thanks for coming, Brandie.
Thank you.
And Brandie does sleep coaching over the internet, do you? Or is it more in person, Brandie? Or
Skype, person, all of it.
Okay, great. So if you have more questions on sleep, she's the expert. So thank you all for joining us tonight, and we will be back on August 5th, which is next month, with a webinar at 8 o'clock Mountain Time. Now that's 10 o'clock Eastern Time, and it's on discipline that builds children's brains, and the focus on that one will be power struggles. So if you have any older children that you'd like some information on, keep us posted. And we hope to do a sleep webinar once a month. So if you don't get questions asked, or things change, and they do change, and you have new questions, you can pop in and ask some more. So definitely stay tuned to Attachment Parenting, or you can sign up for our once a month newsletter on what's coming up, and it'll come right to your inbox. Okay, well, thanks everyone, and good night, and sleep well.
Bye.